Okay, who do we have now?
We have Gregg Jarrett, Fox News legal analyst. And Greg, I can't believe that there is so much going on with we call it sort of the resistance. People already saying they're trying to make California Trump-proof. We heard Letitia James saying she's preparing for Trump. What are they talking about?
Well, Letitia James is now afraid that Trump will do to her what she did to him. She stood in front of cameras, yet we're prepared to use the rule of law because he will seek retribution. I'm reminded of what he told Sean Hannity on Fox News in a sit-down interview. He said, look, these critics claiming that he's going to seek punishment or retribution against political opponents are wrong. He said this use of the lawfare that was used against him sets a terrible precedent for our country, and it has to stop. His priority and objective is not punishing enemies. His objective is to improve people's lives economically, end the cycle of violence and crime and illegal immigration. So, Letitia James, she's unscrupulous and unprincipled and went after Trump. That case is guaranteed to get knocked down or reversed.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, so much of it is politics.
I understand what Jack Smith is unwinding his cases down in Florida.
Yeah, he knows the writings on the wall, right, Greg?
That's right. He'll resign before he's fired by Trump or the new attorney general. So effectively, the law game is over because the case is required to be dismissed, both of the cases that Smith brought, because it's longstanding DOJ policy that under the Constitution you cannot indict or actively prosecute a sitting president. So those two cases go away. Smith's out the door. His staff already papering Washington with their disreputable resumes.
But for, Ed Cox here, Greg, but the civil suit with the large $480 million judgment, doesn't she want that to go forward? How does that get upset?
That's a Letitia James, obviously.
Letitia James, exactly.
I listened to the oral arguments. The appellate judges correctly surmised that Letitia James abused the law to bring this absurd case based on a consumer protection statute where no consumers were harmed. And the judges were asking her lawyers about, how can you do this? And so this was a politically driven case. It'll get reversed. And the same thing, I think, with Alvin Bragg's criminal prosecution of Trump. If Merchan doesn't throw the case out because he wrongfully allowed immunity testimony that's protected, then, I think it'll get reversed on appeal. These guilty verdicts will never stand up. The case was legally unsound. Why? Because it's not a crime to conceal a perfectly legal non-disclosure agreement. So that case is going to go away on its own demerits.
What do you think about all the Hunter Biden pardon stuff? There's like a lot of talk around that the White House is saying, and they kind of hinted to this just a little bit ago. Corinne Jean-Pierre was talking at the White House briefing, Gregg Jarrett, and said, well, the president at this point doesn't have any plans to pardon his son. Then there's word that Trump was asked about it. He didn't rule it out. Your thoughts on like where that could go, or could there be some sort of we'll wipe this one and you help this one?
Well, if I had a nickel for every time Corinne Jean-Pierre got it wrong,
you'd be a very wealthy man.
Yeah, I'd be the wealthiest man in America. So I give her absolutely no credence when she says that. Frankly, if I were President Trump, I think I would consider clemency or a pardon for Hunter Biden. And the reason is this. As he said before and said repeatedly, lawfare has to stop. And while this case wasn't a case of lawfare, I think it would be gracious of the president to pardon his successor's son and to set a new tone that, we are not going to go after political enemies. And I think he would get a lot of credit for being magnanimous. Now, is he going to do that? I have no idea.
I think, Greg, I think you're right. But, my only problem with that is how close did they come to the word treason? Iran was given a blank check to do whatever the heck they wanted. China was a blank check. The border, blank check, letting in criminals, letting in murderers. At what point did they cross the line?
Well, I think they came very close to the line. It's the duty of the President of the United States, one of his principal duties, to enforce all laws. And the law is on the book. It's a crime to come here illegally. And yet he refused to enforce the law.
Greg, that's minor league. I don't care they crossed the border. But criminals, murderers, drug dealers, they had a license to do whatever they wanted.
They set up a system, Biden set up a system where they didn't review or vet any of the people they were inviting into the country and giving money to.
How about Governor Newsom? It's against the law in California to ask for identification to vote.
I agree, but President Trump has already set the template. He said he will enforce the laws where they were not enforced before. And if that means deporting the criminals who are guilty of murders and rapes and so forth, deporting them from the United States, I think he has legal justification to do that, and I think he intends to do it.
I agree.
I agree. Can I, as a follow-up, Greg, in the last 24 hours, we've heard from Gavin Newsom. We've even heard from people in New York, others who have said, well, if he plans to go into our communities and take these people, they're not separating what we're separating, the criminals from the non-criminals, if you will, the people who've been convicted of crimes. I'm not talking about people who've crossed illegally, but how do you see the lawfare sort of starting on that? Because some of these places are saying you can't take anybody. You're not going to deport anybody.
Greg, it's Richard Weinberg. Again, it's more of the same sanctuary city nonsense. They have an obligation to cooperate with the federal authorities on this. And they should not be in office if they're not going to do that. What do you say?
What people don't understand, these sanctuary cities and counties and states, is that's unlawful. It is a crime to give sanctuary to anybody who's here illegally, and you can be criminally prosecuted for that. So those who want to stand on sanctuary status have no legal basis to do so. And I think the president probably intends to enforce the law as written.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And he said he's going to focus on that day one. That was one of the things his team was just putting out in the last few hours.
It is horrible what they put the American people through.
It is. And the fact, as you pointed out, John, there are convicted killers. There are convicted sex offenders.
And the gangs are all over the United States now.
Right. That's
and
the damage.
American people just pass judgment
every
on
day
it.
at 6 o'clock. What do we say? Truth, justice, the American way, and God save us. Well, God saved us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank goodness.
Thank you, Greg.
By the way, Greg, I want to tell everybody, go to thegregjarrett.com. That's, you have a great column on this lawfare, that the game should be over. Thanks, Greg, so much.
My pleasure.
Thanks
for having me.
Prescription products require completion of an online medication consultation with an independent healthcare provider through the LifeMD platform and are only available if prescribed. Subscription required. Individual results may vary. Additional restrictions apply at lifemd.com. Read all warnings before using GLP-1s. Side effects may include a risk of thyroid C-cell tumors. Do not use GLP-1s if you or your family have a history of thyroid cancer.
If you've struggled for years to lose weight and have given up hope, did you know you can now access GLP-1 prescription medications through LifeMD? LifeMD is now offering eligible patients online access to GLP-1s, the breakthrough prescription medication that can help you lose body fat and weight. Listen to what people are saying.
I've been able to live my normal lifestyle, and I've lost 20 pounds already. It changed my life.
I wasn't expecting it to shut off the food noise. This was life-altering, and if I can do it, I feel like anybody can do it.
And here's the best part. Your insurance may cover 100% of the cost of your medication. So go to trylifemd.com to have your eligibility checked right now. Get started today at trylifemd.com. That's TRYLIFEMD.com.